Hello! Today I'm going to be restoring this Nintendo DS Lite that I bought from Japan. I didn't pay very much for this thing, and what intrigued me was just how dirty and gross it was. It's covered in stickers, which to be honest with you is kind of cool. I did that too as a kid, but I just felt like this DS needed to have another life. It's probably ended up in some secondhand junk shop and it's being sold on Yahoo auctions. I bought this using Sendico. I'll leave a link to them in the description below. For this one, I'm gonna have to wear some gloves. Now, what I love about this DS, as I was saying, is although it's really dirty and gross, the majority of the issues that this is having is just from the excessive amounts of use that this has had, which is just lovely. Somewhere out there is someone who had this DS and they made so many memories on it, and that is just beautiful. And I'm going to be getting this thing back to its former glory whilst keeping some of its sort of patina and age related wear, and I think it's going to be an absolutely insanely cool video. So let's get on with this thing. The good thing about these DSs is that they're not region locked. Although this one is from Japan, you can just change the language to English. You can see there's a little bit of yellowing going on here and there. There's a lot of dirt and grime that's sort of embedded itself into the scratches on the DS, so we're going to have to do as best we can to get that all out. This isn't one of those fake restorations like there are so many of on the internet. This is an actual real one, so this isn't going to be perfect by the time it comes out, but look at this thing. It's just absolutely gross. Not even a slight bit of water on that water pad thing that shows whether it's had any water damage. There's probably for like a warranty thing, but there's two of those on the DS, and spoiler alert, both of them have not been tripped. So we'll start by taking off the back. There's a bunch of different screws. They're all different types and sizes and stuff, so you need to be really careful not to lose those. Look at the amount of dirt inside this thing, and it's actually slightly broken there as well, probably because of just the amount of games that have been pushed into this thing. All the dirt that's gotten stuck down here and in the volume slider. I mean, honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a DS be so disgusting before. This is the volume slider. The volume actually didn't work, and this is probably why. So we're going to have to replace that. And having a look around the motherboard, you can see there's no rust, no corrosion, no oxidation. It's just a very honest, good condition, but well-loved DS. And there's that water pad, which is absolutely mint. Bunch of dirt and fine hairs, but that's just from the cartridge port because there's holes straight to the outside world. So let's go ahead and remove the DS stylus holder. I'm going to be literally cleaning every single component of this DS, so it's going to be as spotless as it could possibly be. That's all the dirt and grime from the stylus being pushed in and out. Unfortunately, this one doesn't actually have the stylus. I'll need to buy a new one of those. Look at all of the grime in there. It's horrendous. It's absolutely horrendous. And one of the sad things about the faked restoration videos is that they don't even have genuine dirt and grime on them. That often is the case that the dirt and grime has been put on by someone to then just be removed again by the same person. So it's kind of pointless, but obviously it's just done for the entertainment and the views and then ultimately the money. So removing this antenna is a bit of a nightmare. You've got to pull it out from behind the cartridge slot, and then we can undo the digitizer touchscreen ribbon cable. That's the trigger button for one of the shoulder buttons, and yeah, you can see it's ripped off. Again, that is just from use. That's not from abuse. That is just from use, which is such a lovely thing to see, to be honest. And it's quite a small switch, so I'm going to have to try my best to replace that. So I can pop out the screen and undo the ribbon cable. Got to be super gentle with the ribbon cables on DSs because they are very, very fine and all wrapped up and rolling through the hinge, so it's something that we have to be really careful with. And overall, the motherboard is pretty damn good. It obviously needs a very good clean, and it needs the shoulder button replaced as well as the volume slider, but besides that, it's pretty good. Now here's the lower screen. It looks awful, but it's actually just a screen protector, so that's quite nice. Now both of these screens have some yellowing to them, but I like to think that that is kind of just patina. That is just use, and like a watch, you wouldn't want to replace the dial because it was a little bit yellow. The patina is something that is only caused by use, wear, and love. So I'm going to be keeping the screens slightly yellow. It's so easy to replace them, especially because I'm taking the whole thing apart, but it's not authentic to a restoration for me to just replace everything. Look at how gross the rubber membranes are on the buttons, and even around the action buttons. We're going to have to clean all of that too. So let's take out these screws for the hinge. And the hinge, for some reason, is the yellowest thing on this entire DS. Like, how is that yellowed differently to the rest of it? I don't actually know. We'll have to pull the antenna and microphone cables through, and then we can very gently remove the ribbon cable. And that's the bottom shell piece. Just look how dirty that is. This is the little hinge, which does all of the hinge stuff. Again, we're going to be using that as well. I could replace it for longevity, but it works absolutely fine. Now, these small little rubber covers I did actually end up replacing, and I just used a spare donor DS that I had that was destroyed, so forgive me for that, but they were ever so slightly less yellowed than the ones that this one had. So we can pop off the back, which is done by sort of sliding the top shell down, and then we can take out the speakers. And then we can carefully pull everything through that small little hole. Now, we're even going to be restoring this tiny little dummy cartridge, which sort of stops dirt and grime from getting into the DS, which is a very nice little thing from Nintendo. It's super over-engineered. It's even got a PCB inside, which is kind of funny. And then here is the bucket of boiling hot water filled with soap that I'll be using to give everything a nice clean. There we have it. Everything is all spotlessly clean. Now there's still scratches, and in those scratches are more dirt, which I couldn't get out with a toothbrush, but this right here is going to help us a lot. This is a magic eraser, which is essentially a very light sanding pad. It's a small little white sponge which just ever so slightly sands down a thin layer off the top. Mostly just dirt and grime, but it does also take out very small scratches. You can see up close here. It's done a great job. And so this is your best friend when working with plastics. And then afterwards we'll be able to polish everything again, and it should all be nice and shiny and new looking. That's the hinge cover, again looking all scratched up, but just with a light sand of the magic eraser, and you can see it's looking much better. Obviously we still need to whiten these up, but for the most part they are looking infinitely better. Even if I put this DS back together now, it would be a vast improvement from the start. Now, one of the things I hate about fake restoration videos is that the shell often gets swapped halfway through for an aftermarket one or another one in much better condition. That is not going to be the case with this video at all. The yellowing on the top of the DS shell I was not fully able to remove, but I kind of like that because where there's like a bit of a grid pattern from where the stickers were, that is still there. And as Bob Mortimer said, it's kind of like fingerprints on an abandoned handrail. Now, retrobrighting is essentially a posh word for just bleaching plastic. Retrobrighting is achieved with hydrogen peroxide and a UV nail lamp. Now there's lots of different methods for this. I use the liquid one, it just stops it evaporating and leaving like a weird sort of streaking on the plastic. I use a UV nail hardening lamp to get the UV rays on it. I also left it out in the sun. It's not 100% clear the exact way to do this. Some people have had some success from just literally leaving it out in the sun, but I had a good amount of success from just a bunch of different methods. Now it was time to clean up the motherboard with some isopropyl alcohol. Let's go ahead and give the whole thing a big scrub. Now the small little metal contacts had seen quite a lot of use, so I used a spudger tool just to remove any stubborn dirt and grime, and then polished it up a bit more with some isopropyl alcohol, and these are going to work again for a very long time. Once everything's been all cleaned up, I'm going to remove the volume slider. Unfortunately, one of the pads ripped off in this process, but I'm fairly certain that pad is redundant anyway. It might just be used to hold down the slider. And then we can tin up the shoulder button here as well with some flux and some fresh solder. And in goes the replacement. Much better. And this is the replacement volume slider. Both of these came from a donor board. And we can even give the actual shoulder button a clean by removing the small little rubber pad and then dropping some isopropyl alcohol in, giving it a little shake around and reinstating that rubber pad. And we could do the same with the volume slider. And I also did the same to the power switch. And now it's time to reassemble this thing. And I'm just going to stay quiet because this is a beautiful process. And there we have it. I have finished reassembling the DS Lite. One thing I wanted to quickly try was some plastic polish. Where I used the magic eraser, it had removed some of the shine of the DS, and it left it with some little, very small sort of matte finish scuffs in areas where I'd had to rub a little bit harder. This plastic polish did a great job at removing that sort of matte finish and bringing back the shine. It definitely didn't remove any of the deeper scratches. I think I'm just going to have to accept that this DS has some deeper scratches. But there it is. What do you think of the overall final thing? It's usable, it's clean, it's got another lease of life, and I am so proud of this little thing for making it this far and coming out looking just infinitely better. It's obviously not 100% perfect, but I think making this thing 100% perfect was probably going to be impossible. But just look at all of that gunk compared to now. What a massive difference. This is genuinely something that you could use. This is not just a piece of art to sit on the shelf. This is a fully functional, usable Nintendo DS Lite. I'm so happy with it. Let's just put some games in and have a little play. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you have enjoyed. I hope you've made it this far. If you did, comment down below with white DS Lite 2K23 and I'll heart the comment. Bye.